Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to share with you how to make a homemade pomade. This is very similar to the big brand names you find in the store, although instead of paying those high prices they charge, you're going to make this very, very cheap. I'm going to break this video into 3 parts only because there's too much information for one video, and if I did do it in one video it would be like an hour long and you'd be searching through it to find the little parts you needed to do step by step. Today we'll start with part 1. After we're done with part 1, we're going to let part 1 soak for at least 2 days before starting part 2. So stay tuned. Okay guys, so this is going to be part 1 of the 3-part series on how to make the Suavecito style pomade. Basically we'll be making 2 mixtures today. Both of these mixtures are going to be used in part 2, where I blend it with some other ingredients. I usually let these 2 things that I'm going to make today sit between 2 to 3 days before I would use it in part 2. So I'll, again, you're dealing with some uh, different consistencies here. We're adding some emulsifiers into this. So by letting them sit to 2 to 3 days, it really makes them a lot easier when you add it to the water. It'll blend a lot easier. Okay, so, all right, let's get started. So we're gonna start out, we've got a scale here. This scale of mine is pretty annoying actually. It likes to shut off every like 10 seconds. Like if you don't touch it or add weight to it or take weight away from it, it decides to shut off randomly. So hopefully it won't do that today for us. Okay, so today, just for the viewing purposes here, to make it a little easier to see, and because I have a camera in front of my face and I can't really get to the scales easily, I'm going to use this little plastic container. Typically I would mix it straight into this, but for the simplicity of the video, I'll use this thing. After the video is done, I'll pour it into that glass vial. Okay, so again, we'll be using this plastic thing. I wouldn't store it in something like this because these are not airtight and you really want something that's airtight. Okay, so we'll get started here. Turn the scale on, obviously. Okay, and just zero it out. Okay, so we want to start off with propylene glycol. Okay, we're going to use, now keep in mind this is to make a small batch here. You're going to want to double or triple this, but this is what I've come up with initially because I was making everything in small batches because I didn't want to waste. So we're going to do 0.3. Okay, so we'll just let the scale catch up here. We're at 0.9, 0.29. I think scale's being a little funny here, you see, so sometimes you gotta just kind of play around with it. So that's good. If it's off, that's 0.30. So if it's off by a hair, that's fine too. I think though what I'm gonna do here is, this is like a really small amount. You're not really gonna have enough here to make very much. So I think what we'll do is we'll times this recipe by like 5. So instead of 0.30, we're gonna do we're gonna do 1.5 here. All right, so let's just keep going here. Everything that I would do usually, I'll just times it by 5. A lot of times I times it by 10, but I don't know if I want to do that much today right now. So this will be 1.5. All right. Again, if it's off by a hair like that, that really is not going to matter, especially when you're making a bigger batch like this. It really doesn't matter. Okay, now you're going to want benzyl alcohol. We're going to do 1.25. Okay, so instead of 150, we do 1.25. So actually, what I should have did here, we're going to clear that out and just start from scratch here again. In between each amount, we'll just start from scratch. So 1.25, right? Okay, I don't know if you could see that very well. I'll try to show you it after, but it's really not blending up well. Again, you're dealing with oil and alcohol. They don't blend so well. Not as bad as oil and water, but not great. Okay, we're looking for 1.25 here. Again, it really doesn't matter if you're off by a hair, but okay, we're actually spot on there, so that's good. Well, now it changed, but okay, now I'm going to try to show you guys this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really not. You see how it's separate? It's not blending together. That's normal. That's why you got to let it sit for 2 to 3 days. Once you add the emulsifiers, this will blend up really nicely. Okay. Again, clear your scale out here. Next, we're going to use Polysorbate 20. All right, now we're on to propylene, or sorry. Okay, now we're on to Polysorbate 20. We're going to do, it's usually 0.22 on the smaller batch, but since I'm times 8 by 5, we'll do 1.1 on this one. So the scale here, as you see, like I was saying, it always shuts off on me. Really not a big deal for now. It becomes a bigger deal in part 2. But right now, anyway, I'm resetting it each time, so it doesn't really matter. Again, all right, 1.1 of Polysorbate 20. It's a little heavier, so you're not going to need as much. As you see, I put these in these little glass vials. It just keeps it easier to handle. I mean, when I bought them, they came in like giant bottles, but it's a lot harder to use those, especially when you're dealing with small amounts like this. You want to just be able to drip it in. All right, so we went a little over 1.1, but again, I mean, odds are you'll be making this in a bigger batch, so those little differences aren't going to matter. Okay, so now we'll reset this thing again, and we're going to do peg 7. Where is it here? Okay, peg 7. So that, and on this one we're going to do 0.9. Alright, after I times it by 5, it comes out to 0.9. So here we go. Alright. We got just over 0.9, that's great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the scent, and that's also going to be 0.9, just like the last one we did here. So you can use whatever scent you want. I just pick up scent oils online, and I use my favorite, but you can use whatever you want. That's what's nice about this, actually. You don't need to deal with the smells that the companies decide they want you to smell like. You can actually smell like whatever you want to smell like. Alright, let's see. 0.9. Do one more drop. That'll be good. Okay. Alright, next we're going to do vegetable glycerin. So let's clear that. Each drop is like way heavier than the other ones. Alright, I'm going to just do one more drop. It's probably going to send us over, but it's okay. Alright, so it did send us over, but that's fine. Okay, 0.78 instead of 0.75. That's a very small difference. Okay, next part, which is the last, is going to be peg 40, also known as castor oil. We're going to just do 0.4 of this. Okay. 0.4, which it's so thick it doesn't even really get pulled up into the thing very well. So we're probably just going to plop it right off of it here. Let's see. It's very, very heavy. Let's see. Alright. We're already nearly there and we've barely done anything here. Do one more teeny drop here and then we're done. It's going to be too big here, but alright. Let's see. So it went over here again. Everything seems to be going over here, but again, once you're making this on a larger scale, those point differences are very minimal. They don't really matter. Okay, so that's it. So I'll clear this out. I'll show you what it looks like. See how it's not at all mixed together. You can stir it around a little bit if you'd like, but I would keep this, you know, like 2 to 3 days. Put it inside one of these airtight vials here like this. Okay, so we just finished Vial 1 in the part 1 of the 3-part series. So now we're going to do Vial 2 of this prep work, part 1. Okay, this is a lot simpler than the one we just did. That one was, let's see, like 6-7 ingredients to it. This one's got 2 to 3 depending on what you want to do. It's up to you really. I use 3. You can keep it more simple if you want and use 2, but okay, so basically zero your scale out. This one is Polysorbate 80. Okay, in part 1, in the first vial there we used Polysorbate 20. This is Polysorbate 80. It helps blend thicker oils basically. And because we're going to be using, what I use is Jojoba oil, or jojoba, however you pronounce it, and prickly pear seed oil. That's what I use. You can use one of those, both of those, or something totally different. It should work as long as it's like an oil, like a normal oil. I'm sure you could probably use coconut oil. That would probably work too, but I don't use that, so I'll just show you what I do. This is going to be equal parts of Polysorbate 80 to the oil. So in this case, we'll do like 10 drops of Polysorbate just for the purposes of this video. And this is actually, I don't even know why I have the scale on because this isn't by weight. This is just by drops. So we could even shut that off. I did 10 drops of that. Just by parts. So 10 drops of that, and now, like I said, it'll be equal parts of oil. But what I mean though is not equal parts of, what I mean is equal parts of total oil. So because I'm using 2 oils and I did 10 drops of that, I'll do 5 and 5 to equal 10. If you're using 1 oil, you'll just use 10 drops, okay? 10 for 10. If it's 10, you'll use 10. Okay, so let me get my Jojoba oil out here. It's all messy. It seemed to have leaked a little bit here, but whatever. You can find all this stuff online too, just like I said before. So I'm just going to do 5 drops of this. That's it. And 5 drops of prickly pear seed oil. Both of these oils here are really good for your hair, so this is almost like almost a healthy pomade, let's say that. Okay, so 5 drops of this. 2, 3, 4, 5. These drops are huge, and truthfully I usually use a dropper, but I didn't do it today, so I probably got a little more prickly pear seed oil than I usually would put in, but it's fine. Okay, and like I did in the first vial, this mixture I'll put inside one of those glass vials. I don't like to keep things in these plastic containers. These are just for the purpose of this video. I feel like these containers leak a little bit, so I don't like to do it. I keep them in these glass vials. And that's it, folks. Okay, This was part 1 of the 3-part series, and I try my best to make it as easy as I can for you, so hope that helped. Look how this looks. It's a really small amount, but again, this is just equal parts. So I mean, if you want to do 100 drops of poly 80, and let's say 50-50 of jojoba and prickly pear, go for it. Do whatever you want, any sort of oils. As long as it's the equal parts of Polysorbate 80 in there, you should be okay. For specific oils, you could write a comment below, and I'll try to get back to you. Okay, so keep a lookout for part 2 here, and again, we're gonna let these oils sit for like 2 to 3 days, and then we'll blend up the mixture for the pomade. Again, guys, I would appreciate it if you like this video, share this video, and subscribe. And also by subscribing, you'll be first to know when I post the next video. So go ahead.